to the all-existent one and the mighty one, the awesome one, the one who has created all things. Yahweh, we give you thanks and we give you praise for your magnificence, your grace, your mercy that you have extended to us, your long suffering, and your patience. We gather today in this house to worship you, to talk about the wonders that you have given us. We thank you for the peace of mind and spirit. You alone are El. There is none beside you. There is none to be compared with you. You have kept us. You have sustained us. You've made it possible for us to be in this house on this particular day, and we are so thankful. We pray for the house of Israel, and wherever she is gathered today, worshiping you and honoring your Shabbat. We thank you that you have given us reasonable strength in our body and in our minds. Thank you that you have provided us the bounty that we're able to eat that nourishes our bodies. You and you alone, Father, can be worshiped. We pray for those that are sick in their bodies, afflicted, unable to attend today, those who may have had a desire to but couldn't. We pray for them also. Let your teaching of your words go forth today. Let our speech be pleasing to you and our way of life also. Protect those that are away. Most High, we give you thanks and we give you praise. Amen. We're going to read today we're going to read a portion of Psalms 107. I don't know, we might read it all. So read along with me if you would, please. Give thanks to Yahweh, for he is good, for his grace continues forever. Let those redeemed by Yahweh say it, those he redeemed from the power of the foe. He gathered them from the lands and from the east and from the west, from the north and from the sea. They wandered in the desert and passed through the waste without finding any inhabited city. They were hungry and thirsty. Their life was embed away. In their trouble they cried to Yahweh, and he rescued them from their distress. He led them by a direct path to a city where they could live. Let them give thanks to Yahweh for his grace, for his wonders bestowed on humanity. For he has satisfied the hungry, filled the starving with good. Some lived in darkness, in death's dark gloom, bound in misery and iron chains because they defied Yahweh's word, scorned the counsel of the Most High. So he humbled their hearts by hard labor. When they were stubbled, he came to their aid. In their trouble, they cried to Yahweh, and he rescued them from their distress. He led them from darkness, from death's dark gloom, shattering their chains. Let them give thanks to Yahweh for his grace, for his wonders bestowed on humanity. For he shattered bronze doors cut through iron bars. There were foolish people who suffered affliction because of their crimes and sins. They couldn't stand to eat anything. They were near the gates of death. In their trouble, they cried to Yahweh, and he rescued them from their distress. He sent his word, and he healed them. He delivered them from destruction. Let them give thanks to Yahweh for his grace, for his wonders bestowed on humanity. Let them offer sacrifices of thanksgiving and proclaim his great deeds with songs of joy. Those who go down to the sea in ships, plying their trade on the great ocean, saw the works of Yahweh, his wonders in the deep. For at his word the storm wind rose, lifting up towering waves. The sailors were raised up to the sky. They plunged to the depths. At the danger, their courage failed them. They reeled and staggered, and drunk men, and all their skill was swallowed up. In their trouble, they cried to Yahweh, and he rescued them from their distress. He silenced the storms and stilled the waves, and they rejoiced as the sea grew calm. Then he brought them safely to a desired port. Let them give thanks to Yahweh for his grace, for his wonders bestowed on humanity. Let them extol him in the assembly of the people and praise him in the leaders' council. He turns rivers to desert, flowing springs into thirsty ground, productive land into salt flats, because the people live there are so wicked. But he also turns desert into pools of water, dry land into flowing springs. There he gives the hungry a home, and they build a city to live in. There they saw fields and planted vineyards, which yield an abundant harvest. He blesses them. Their numbers grow. He doesn't let their livestock decrease. When their numbers fall and they grow weak because of oppression, disaster, and sorrow, he pours contempt on princes and leaves them to wander in trackless waste. But the needy he raises up from their distress and increases their families like sheep. When the upright see this, they rejoice, while the wicked are reduced to silence. Let whoever is wise observe these things and consider Yahweh's loving deeds. Amen. Let's give all praise to the Most High Yahweh. You may be seated. As we enter this weekend, we enter a time in which we honor the mothers. Scripture says to us, honor your mother and father that your days might be long in the land. So today at First Tabernacle Fellowship, we honor all of you mothers, and we're thankful for you. Without you, there'd be no sons and there'd be no daughters. We give you praise and we give you thanks. We're in the midst of a little shift before I take my seat and bring the teacher for today. I want to do something. I want to do something. The Moray Appleton last week escaped from us to spend his time alone. And I like to make him uncomfortable. I really do. I like to make him uncomfortable. So would you all join with me in wishing him last weekend a happy birthday? I tried to explain to him if he had no born day, then he would not be standing next to me and sharing this wonderful word that we have to share. And I have to let him understand that he was born for a purpose. And every day that he lives and has a new day, that purpose continues to be fulfilled. And we give all praise to the Most High for giving him strength, intelligence of mind to be able to go in and bring out the various aspects of word that we are learning from. So I give to you another year older, the Honorable Moray Sean Appleton.
Oh my goodness. Thank you so much. Oh my goodness. It is good to be loved by those that are amongst the community of Hebrew Israel. I thank all of you. Thank you for all your well wishes. We have the opportunity on this day that is set apart as a Shabbat to honor the Most High's word, the beneficent. We start out the same way. The beneficent, the one that has created all things from nothing. I want you to think about that. All things were created from nothing. And that in 6 days created everything that we can see and touch and interact with. The one that delivered us from the birthing room of an idolatrous nation called Mitzrayim and birthed the nation of a people who cut our umbilical cord of our ancestors. Let us transverse through the desert like an infant, teaching us his ways, clothing us, putting shoes on our feet, and allowing us to matriculate into a land and giving us a caretaker in the name of Moshe, who taught us the ways of the Most High and delivered us into a piece of real estate specifically designed for us. Give me another Yah or another God or whatever you want to call him that actually has designated a set of land for a set apart people. Not a one. So, to that one which I am not worthy to stand in this seat or stand here before this podium, I thank him for allowing me to be here today with all of you. One more. Again, just to tell you like it, T.I. is. For all of the dignitaries that I have in the room, I got to acknowledge them here. A matter of fact, who's here and not here? I'm going to start with the Honorable Morey Jared Beacom, who is not here with us right now. The Honorable, what's your name? Trey Beverly. I got to ask you now, if you go by Yeshai, you going by what? Your Hebrew name or what? Yeshai Beverly. Shabbat shalom to you, sir, today. To the Honorable Robert B. Holman Jr., my mentor and friend. Shabbat shalom to you, sir. To those that are joining by way of the stream, who are faithful in supporting this ministry, this teaching that comes out of this house, I say Shabbat shalom to all of you. To all those, I'm going to get him. Matter of fact, before I go any further, let me acknowledge, I would call you sir, but it's my friend, Brother Charles. Shabbat shalom to you, sir. For those descendants of ours that are not here, that will hear these recordings, that will know that your ancestors walked in the ways of the Most High, the best way we could. You guys are going to have more information than we have. As we get closer and closer to the Aharit HaChamim, what is that? The end of times, the end days. You are going to have knowledge of the Most High. Stay strong and steadfast. Obey the ways of the Most High and his mitzvot. Look to those for your strength. Shabbat shalom to all of you. Now, to all of you that are here in our studio audience, are you ready to go to the stratosphere? Are you ready to go subterranean? Shabbat shalom. Shabbat shalom. Now, there is a text that we have that we can observe right now. And this is going to be a part of my liturgy every time I get up. So you just know when we do this part of it, you should just need to go ahead and do it. Vayikra chapter number 19, verse 32 says, or Leviticus chapter number 19, verse 32 says, you stand in the presence. Sit down. What you getting ready to stand up for? In the name, you stand in the midst of your elders who have gray hair. So for those of you that have gray hair, stay seated. Now, for everybody that stood up, I want you to turn to the nearest person that has that gray hair, closest to you. Turn to him and say, Shabbat Shalom. All right, you may take your seats. All right. We're getting these mitzvot. We're going to get these mitzvot in our system. Okay? Now, I was going to get ready to do, actually, he's not here. I told him, I think I might have scared him off when I said, you know what, we was in the podcast. I told him, I said, I want you to tell me that story when you get up on stage, and they ain't even here. But what I want to do is I want to actually start out today, because when I'm sitting over there, I'm listening to the Moray teach these couple of weeks while he's up, and then I get these harebrained ideas while I'm over there. I actually want to run something by y'all. This is a postulation. This is a thought. This is a thesis, Hebrews chapter 7. That's what Hebrews chapter 7 is. It's a thought. It's a thesis. It's a thought pattern. It's not scripture. It's somebody pontificating and what out of the depths of their mouth thinking, oh, this is what I think. Okay? So this is a thesis. I kind of want to bounce it off you. Okay? And then, after we come out of that, I want to address a question that was written to us, or written to me, to address publicly. And then I'm going to get into chapter number 5 of Vayikra, chapter number 25, or Leviticus chapter number 25. I don't think I'm even going to get to 26 today. We're just going to go through 25. But let me bounce this idea off of you. How many of you were in the Christian church at one time? That's be an easy answer for all of you. Raise your hands high. Okay, all of you were in the Christian church at one time. We had a concept that said what? He said, which one? There's a lot of them. When did sin come into existence? And is that a question that we used to have? When did sin come into existence? When he bit the apple. Okay? That's what they said. What else? What's another one? When did it come into existence? When they ate from the tree? Okay. So the answer would be when they ate from the tree. Okay? The Most High had said something to Adam, and again, Havel, his wife, was convinced enough to go ahead and convince her husband that, hey, listen, you should eat from the tree. And they ate from the tree from good and evil, and that's when sin entered the world. Is that still a postulation that you would still have as a Hebrew? Why? Definition. You're saying definition. Disobey. You said disobey. This is the thought that I had. I don't think that that's a good question. When did sin come into existence? Did we read the text as Hebrews? This is my postulation. What is sin? The violation of Yah's word. I told you to do X. And you went ahead and did Y. My thought is sin was already here. Because what? We have the violation of the Most High's word. The Most High said to Adam, do not eat from this tree. And he gave him the atonement that would actually happen. Because if you do, you will die. We see the very first behavioral patterns of the Most High right there in the garden. Because isn't that what we're studying now? Don't do X. It's if you do, then Y will happen. Okay? So the ability to sin was already there. He enacted something, and the Most High went ahead and gave him the just atonement, which we're paying for today. Right? Everybody is paying for that atonement that actually happened. way back when. It wasn't when they bit from the apple. First of all, it wasn't an apple because it didn't say what the fruit was. Let's get that squared away right now, okay? Didn't say that, all right? Let's get that square. What actually happened? It says their eyes were open. They became aware of something, okay? They're aware of their nakedness, all right? Now I have the ability. I like to think of it like this. Again, this is just me talking, all right? Adam probably had more of a resolve like, and I don't want to be demeaning by saying this, more like an animal, if you will. See, I have a dog, and my dog doesn't know the difference between good and evil, right? I have to teach him what he wants to do. If I ask him to do something, if he does something, he's looking for a reward. He doesn't know that if I have him go attack this other dog, that's evil. He knows, oh, okay, if I do this, I get a reward. If I do something, whatever you want me to do, it's for the reward. I don't have a concept of what good and evil is. Okay? Once they ate from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, now they know that, oh, attacking something is bad. Doing something over here is good. Okay? But that's what happened. Okay? There wasn't a set of it. Okay. Am I on good ground? I think it's not a good Hebraic question to ask. It's a Christian question to ask. All right? We have to change the way we think, and that's why I wanted your husband here, because he was going to tell this story about the monkeys, but I think why he's not here is because he wanted me to tell it myself. So I'm going to try to put the spin on it, okay? There are three monkeys. They put three monkeys in a cage. They put a banana at the top of the cage. One of the monkeys tried to crawl up there and get the banana. They came in and they sprayed the other two monkeys at the bottom of the cage. Next day, they put another banana at the top of the cage. Monkey went up to go grab it. They sprayed the other two monkeys at the bottom of the cage. Third day rolls around. I'm embellishing this. You're probably like, you jacked that story up. Third day rolls around. They put another banana at the top of the cage. The monkey tries to climb up, and the other two monkeys beat the other monkey up before he could get to the banana. Some time passes, and then they know that any time that banana gets on the top of the cage, none of the monkeys go up there and get it. Some time passes, one of the monkeys dies, and they replace it with a new monkey. They put a banana at the top of the cage. The new monkey tries to go up there and get it. The other two monkeys beat the other two monkey up before he can get to it. This happens a couple of times, and then the monkey knows. All the monkeys in the cage have an understanding. When that banana gets up there, you do not go up there and get it. Some more time passes. One of the second, there's three original monkeys. So the second original monkey dies. They bring in a new monkey. That monkey decides to go up and try to get the banana at the top of the cage. What do you think the other two monkeys do? Beat him up. All right. They all have an understanding. Okay? The third original monkey dies. What do you think they do? They replace him with a new monkey. The new monkey, when they put the banana at the top of the cage, he tries to go up and get it. True form, the two monkeys beat the other monkey up. Now that we have all a good understanding among us monkeys, that when the banana gets up on top, we're not going to climb up there and get it. The one thing that we understand from this story is that all of the new monkeys never got sprayed. They never got sprayed because they were carrying on a tradition that was before them. What do you think you're doing with Christianity? You're carrying on a tradition that you can't even back up. You don't even know where half this stuff came from. You're following a tradition. You're following something or a precedent that has already been set and not doing the critical thinking, the cognitive ability, and your acumen to look and examine the text for yourself. Right? Study to show yourself approved. Okay? So that is what we're going to do as we move into this question that I got asked. Because what it establishes is a learning pattern that we want to try to establish in order to try to extract the correct information or the data that we need to have in order to answer the question. Okay? All right. Did I tell the story right? Okay. Good. We welcome questions. All forms of questions. A dear, faithful individual wrote in and wrote us a question, and I would like to go over that and read that out loud for you. And I want you to think about how you would answer this question if you were asked it yourself. You're out on the street somewhere, someone asks you this, how would you best answer it? I'm going to read the first part of this because the rest is adoration and doesn't really deal with the question itself. But you'll know who you are when I read this question because it's very good. This is coming from a beautiful person. It says, thank you again for all the wonderful teaching from your staff. But I have a question for the Moray Appleton. I was listening to the teachings from the book of Leviticus about sacrifices on sin offerings, clean and unclean meat that we should eat, which we should eat and which we should not eat. When I read Jeremiah 7:22, it says, "For I spoke not unto your father, nor commanded them in the day that I brought them out of the land of Mitzrayim concerning burnt offerings or sacrifices." The question here appears to be that when we came out of Mitzrayim, as it states here in Jeremiah 7, let's go ahead and get it. Jeremiah, chapter number 7, verses 22. I'm going to read this again. It says, I was listening to your teaching from the book of Leviticus, or Vayikra, about sacrifices on sin offerings, clean and unclean meat that we can and cannot eat. When I read Jeremiah 7:22, it says, "For I spoke not unto your fathers, nor commanded them in the day that I brought them out of the land of Mitzrayim concerning burnt offerings or sacrifices." It says that we are to understand the fine print. When the Most High gave us this, so many direct orders about sacrifices in the Torah. So, I think what we're trying to answer here is something that's a dichotomy here. Why is the prophet saying, "For I didn't speak to your ancestors, giving them give them orders concerning burnt offerings and sacrifices when I brought them out of Mitzrayim"? But we're teaching on sacrifices. If the Most High is saying, "I didn't give you any mitzvot on sacrifices," then why are we talking about sacrifices? Am I understanding the question correctly? Okay. Seems like there is a dichotomy here, where the prophet is saying one thing, and then we got mitzvot over here that say something else. Okay? Does everybody understand where I'm getting ready to go? The prophet says, you didn't give us mitzvot on sacrifices and offerings, but I'm teaching on them. So where did these mitzvot come from? Okay. So, does anybody have an idea how you'd answer that? How would you answer that? There's your first answer right there. Okay? How would you answer that? Somebody said to you, Jeremiah 7:22 says, you didn't give us mitzvot on sacrifices and offerings, but you clearly have them over here. How do you reconcile it? The Moray gave you part of the answer, which is we have to go and read the pretext to see what this is talking about. What is the prophet talking about in 7 and 22? Great answer. Nobody said anything. Okay. Let's go back up and see what he says. Let's go to Jeremiah chapter number 7. Let's go all the way up to the top. One of the things that you will learn from Moray, Holman, and myself is that we are really strong in trying to learn the contextual portion of what we're reading. Okay? This is the word that came to Jeremiah. This is chapter 7 of Jeremiah or Jeremiah. From Yahweh, stand at the gate of the house of Yahweh and proclaim this word. Listen to the word of Yahweh. He's talking to a bunch of stiff-necked, hard-hearted folks that have turned away from the Most High. Correct? Okay. Now, it says, to Yahweh and proclaim this word. Listen to the word of Yahweh, all you from Yehudah who enter these gates and worship Yahweh. Here is what Yahweh Sabaoth, the El of Israel, says. Who is he talking to? Hebrew Israel. And this is a direct order from the Most High. This is what the Most High wants you to hear. Okay? Improve your ways and actions, and I will let you stay in this place. Oh boy, there's a mitzvah. We're going to get into that today. We're going to get in that today. Does anybody know what Vayikra chapter number 25 is about? Okay, Vayikra chapter 25 is about the Yovel years. And what happens in the Yovel years? The land has to rest in those Yovel years. Okay? One of the reasons why your ancestors got kicked out of the land is because they didn't let the land rest. We're going to back that up too today when we get to 2 Chronicles. Improve your ways and actions, and I will let you stay in this place. Now, this is a plethora of things that they were doing, but I'm saying probably one of them is that obviously we know that they didn't let the land rest, so we know that's a definite one. Don't rely on that deceitful slogan, the temple of Yahweh, the temple of Yahweh. These buildings, you really improve your, what did I say? Temple of Yahweh. These buildings are the temple of Yahweh. No, but if you really improve your ways and actions, if you really administer justice between people, if you stop oppressing foreigners, orphans, and widows, if you stop shedding innocent blood in this place, and if you stop following other gods to your own harm, then I will let you stay in this place. In the land that I gave your ancestors forever and ever. Look, you are relying on deceitful words that can't do you any good. First you steal, murder, commit adultery, swear falsely, offer to Baal, and go after other gods. You could have put any one of there. Horus, Tammuz, Dionysus, Mithra, Jesus Christ. Okay. You can add it because they're all the same. All right? Swear falsely, offer to Baal, and go after other gods that you haven't known. Has Hebrew Israel ever known Jesus Christ? Okay. Well, that makes it simple. Follow me, nobody else. Okay? Gods that you haven't known. Then you come and stand before me in this house that bears my name and say, we are saved, so that you can go on doing these abominations. Do you regard this house which bears my name as a cave of bandits? I can see myself. What's going on? Says Yahweh, go to the place in Shiloh that used to be mine and used to bear my name, and see what I did to it because of the wickedness of the people of Israel. I spoke to you again and again, but you wouldn't listen. What is the Most High doing? You're scolding them for disobeying his word. That's the backdrop. If you don't get anything else out of this, that's contextually what we're talking about here, right? It says, I spoke to you again and again, but you wouldn't listen. I called to you, but you wouldn't answer. Now, says Yahweh, because you have done all these things, I will do to the house that bears my name on which you rely, and to the place I gave you and your ancestors, what I did to Shiloh. All right? And I will drive you out from my presence, just as I drove out all of your kinsmen, all of your descendants of Ephraim. So, Yeremiah, don't pray for these people. Don't cry. Pray or intercede on their behalf with me, because I won't listen to you. Don't you see what they're doing in the cities of Yehuda, in the streets of Jerusalem? The children gather wood, the fathers light the fire, and the women knead the dough to make cakes for the queen of heaven. And just to provoke me, just to test me. How many of y'all are parents in here? How many of y'all have had that testimony to your child? Don't test me, boy. Don't try me. See what happens. Just to provoke me. They pour out their drink offerings to other gods. Wait a minute. They pour out their drink offerings to other gods. First of all, misfolks should be going right off in your head right now. Okay? Are they really provoking me? Asked Yahweh. Are you really doing what you think you're getting ready to do? Please, let me understand what's going on here. Asked Yahweh. Or are they provoking themselves to their own ruin? Do you want to die? Because we can make that happen. Okay? Therefore, here is what Yahweh Elohim says. This is leading into the question, okay? My anger and fury will be poured out on this place, on men, animal, trees, in the field, and produce produce growing from the ground. And I will burn it without being quenched. And it will burn without being quenched. Thus says Yahweh Sabaoth, El of Israel, you may as well eat meat of your burnt offerings along with that of your sacrifices. Mitzvot. You might as well go on ahead and eat the meat of your sacrifices. You got to ask yourself the question, if you know the mitzvot, which of the offerings can you eat? If I'm bringing an offering to the Kohanim for an atonement of something, there's only one set of sacrifices that are attributed to the things that you can eat. The rest of here we go. Let's start over here. We have what? Burnt offerings, sin offerings, peace offerings, what? Guilt offerings. Out of those, which ones can you eat? No. Peace. Peace offerings are the only ones you can eat. Remember that time we went through that and we said on the day that you bring it, you have up to 3 days to eat it? And then after the third day it gets bad? Burnt offerings are just that. You burn them up completely. You can't eat them. So Most High is saying, since you're bowing down to everybody else, you might as well go on ahead and eat the offering. You might as well, you're already violating the rest of them. Go on ahead and violate the rest of them if you will. Okay? That's what he's saying there. Here's where the question comes in. It says, for I didn't speak to your ancestors to give them orders concerning burnt offerings or sacrifices when I brought them out of the land of Mitzrayim. Is that true? Yes. What do you need to even have a burnt offering? You need to have the tabernacle. You need to have all the utensils of the tabernacle. When they came out of Mitzrayim, did they have the mitzvot for those? No. They got those later on. Okay? When they met them at the base of Mount Horeb, where everybody calls the what? The 10 Commandments? Ain't not a burnt offering thing in there. Okay? Where you start out. Because when you start with those 10 Commandments, matter of fact, let's do this. You come out of Mitzrayim, right? You're in the desert, right? Or at least you meet the Most High. The Most High says, I am. I shook the earth, and you guys said, nope, send Moshe up there. We don't want to talk to him. And I'm telling you, probably if I was in that group, I would have said the same thing too. You probably don't get the gravity. Okay, Midwest folk. I know my Midwest people. Y'all know about them tornadoes that come through the Midwest, right? Take your house right up from the base of the ground that it sits on. West Coast folk. Y'all know what the earthquake feels like, right? Okay. West Coast folk, y'all know what a fire looks like on a mountain, right? We have them every year, right? Okay? East Coast folk, Midwest folk, you know about thunderstorms that will shake the entire house, lightning storms. Can you imagine combining all that at one time? Talk about stop yelling at me. That's what the Most High did when he came down and he met our ancestors. They said, no, Moshe, you go up there and talk to him. Okay? What you don't realize is starting in chapter number 20 of Shemot or Exodus, moving forward, are nothing but mitzvot. In the Shemot, mitzvot. Get you into what book? Vayikra, nothing but mitzvot. What happens after Vayikra? Bad Midbar, in the wilderness. These are the things that happened to us while we were out in that desert for 40 years. And then what? You got Moshe saying, okay, before we get into the land, I'm going to give you chapter number, the whole entire book of Devarim, which goes over everything I taught you before we were in the desert. Before you get into the land. And then that's where we get Yahushua, where we pick up from Yahushua, and Yahushua takes us into the land. Because Moshe can't see it. Right? So that's what you're looking at there. Okay? But again, the Most High is rolling out. So how I to answer this question is that the Most High, you got to read the context of what's there to know that the Most High is basically saying, y'all go ahead and jack up anyway. Doesn't negate the mitzvos that I gave you on burnt offerings. If you're going to violate them, you might as well just go ahead and violate them. And that's true. When I brought you out, I didn't give you any mitzvos on burnt offerings because you never had the utensils to do it. You didn't have the structure. You didn't have the tabernacle. You didn't have any of that stuff. When I give you those mitzvot, now that stuff starts coming into play on what the liturgy is. That brings you into Vayikra. Okay? So, I'm bringing that up because, yes, it's a very astute question, very good question. But it puts us back in the frame of mind of how we look, sometimes how we look at things. I need you not to answer, you not to answer, both of y'all not to answer, and you not to answer. Matter of fact, you can't answer either. What's half of 2 plus 2? What's half of 2 plus 2? Haley, what's half of 2 plus 2? 2. What's half of 2 plus 2, my man? 2. What's half of 2 plus 2, Sister V? 2. All right. What's half of 2 plus? No, I think you know the answer already. That's why I can't ask you. Half of 2 plus 2 is 3. They're going to be like, you can't go to FTF no more. They are lunatics over there. They can't even do simple math. Half of 2 plus 2 is 3. What did I ask you? I asked you what's half of 2 plus 2 is 3. When you slow down and you look at what I'm saying and listen, I didn't tell you to take 2, add it to 2, divide, and then come back. Follow the path. I didn't tell you to start over in Matthew and learn anything. Go all the way back and go through it slowly. Okay? It's a matter of perspective on the way you look at it. Okay? That's how we attack these. Because what happens is we get into this idea of saying, I'm going to cherry pick this verse out. And now I got context. I need to somehow resolve it. Christianity does it all the time. Let me give you an example. Let's go to Matthew chapter 1. Let's go to Matthew chapter 1. It's called cherry picking. Scroll down. We don't need to get past all this. This is all this in Matthew chapter 1 right here is an agenda. Keep going. I'm trying to figure out where it is. I'm going to see it in bold. If you got the stern, all of the references that are made in there, keep going. There you go, right there. Go back up a little bit. If you just go ahead and look at this, it says all this happened in order to fulfill. Oh, come on, let's go up and get it a little bit farther than that. Let's go up. Yeah, oh boy. This is great because this is proving my point. Stop right there. We've all heard this before. Here come your TikTok right here. That's what you should have did with your phone. I know y'all got it on your hip like this. Here is how the birth of Yeshua, the Messiah, or Jesus the Christ, took place. It says, when his mother, stop. As a Hebrew, you can't even get out of the first 5 words without thinking about a mitzvot. The mitzvot's got to be in you so much to where when you even read those first 5 words, mitzvot should be popping out in your mind. Let me show you. Here is how the birth. Do we have mitzvot on birthing? Yes. We have a mitzvot that says what? If she gives birth to a boy, then she's to stay away for X amount of days. If she gives birth to a girl, then she has to stay about X amount of days. After the child is birthed, 8 days later, they'll be what? Circumcised in your flesh. So everything that I'm reading after this should be lining up to the mitzvot of the Most High. Look at the words that are there. Here's how the birth of Yeshua, the Messiah, took place. So hopefully something in here is Hebraic that I can validate, okay? It says, when his mother, Miriam, was engaged, bing, 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 there's another set of mitzvot right there. Do you know what a Hebrew engagement looks like? Do you know the mitzvot of a virgin being betrothed to a man and what the mitzvot are for that? You cannot jump into this, Matthew, without knowing the fine print, which is what? The mitzvot and the understanding of them in their proper application. I didn't get out of the first 2 sentences before I got at least half a dozen mitzvot that I can reference already. Was engaged to Joseph before they were married. That means they what? They were engaged. There's a set of mitzvot for that. She was found to be pregnant from, oh, wait a minute. That's where we should have got off the rail right there. It just told you that this woman was engaged to this man. And then some other entity came in and got this woman pregnant. What is the consequence for a woman who is engaged, who goes off and gets pregnant by someone else? Death. Who dies? So wait a minute. So this deadbeat dad right here called the Ruach HaKodesh should have went ahead and died, right? Oh, she said, my wife corrected me. She said, no, it's a Holy Ghost. He's already dead, I guess, because he's a ghost. Woo. It's that ghost. You see this? That cannot happen. We have a violation of a mitzvot. And you mean to tell me that the Most High is going to come into the earth through the violation of his own word? We got to ask that question first. Why don't you ask it? Because you didn't get all the fine print. You don't know the history. You don't know the antiquity. You don't know anything about it because Christianity is set up to tell you. Matter of fact, while they celebrating, they knew whatever. I don't mean no shade, but they got a new guy that's sitting in the seat, right? They got a new pope, right? I got to take a side quest real quick. This is going to tickle me to death. I'm sitting here. My wife listens to sports all the time. And they were doing this instantiation of this new pope like they were at a sporting event. It was the funniest thing in the world. They sit there, had a panel set up, you know, like they do on ESPN at halftime. And the one lady was, they had 3 other cardinals sitting there. And the one lady is asking him, we've got this new pope. I mean, how do you feel about that? Is it really going to revitalize? Well, and he's sitting over there answering it like he's a sports commentator. You know, he's got a really strong, you know, his fullback position to go. Anyway, it was funny to me. Anyway, that's me being corny. Let me just get back on track. Says her husband to be Joseph was a man who did, oh boy. Y'all reading it, did what was right. As Hebrews, what do we define as righteousness? Following the mitzvot of the Most High. That's what's right. So he was doing what was right. So he made plans to break the engagement quietly. Nobody even asks why he's doing that. That would be your first indication that something else in here is at play. But what? Christianity likes to, what they all used to say this all the time in the old church, read on. Because we got the hooping we got to get to. Okay? We got hooping we got to get to. All right? Your indication is right there. Even Joseph knew it. Even Joseph knew it. Says this is some mess. Why does he know it? I'm going to ask this dear sister here. Let me ask you a question. You have kids, right? You have what do you have? Daughter, son? 2 sons. Okay. Let's hypothetically think that you had a daughter. Okay? All right? Let's say you had a daughter. And your daughter is engaged, and you know that she's a virgin to, what's your favorite famous actor? You don't really have one. Let's just say that she was engaged to who? Give me somebody. She said Denzel Washington. Let's say she's engaged to Denzel Washington. And you know that she's a virgin, right? And she shows up at your house and say, Ma, me and my man, we going to come home and what do you like to cook? What's your favorite dish you like to cook? Yeah, what's your favorite dish you like to cook? Pepper steak. We're going to come home and get some of that good pepper steak. I want you to put both your ankles in that pepper steak because Denzel's coming through. And you get to the house, they get to the house, and you see that she got a little bump in her stomach. And you pull her aside. You say, hey, listen, I had a question for you. Y'all been, your first assumption is what? Y'all been, yeah, it is. Right? She said, have y'all been engaging in each other? You're going to naturally ask that question. You said, well, wait a minute, honey. I thought you was saving yourself for marriage. So what's this going on? And she said, Ma, I got to tell you something. I'm pregnant by the Holy Spirit. I want you to put yourself today. She said, her face say it all. I got pregnant by the Holy Spirit. You thinking in your mind, what? She said, what Holy Spirit? Yeah, let me see his social security card because he got to be somebody. Who is this Holy Spirit person? Somebody's mama named him Holy and his last name Spirit? No. It was a spirit. It came in the middle of the night and it got me pregnant. See, she said, I'll be through listening at that point, which proves where I'm going. You couldn't sell that to nobody. That's why Joseph is on the run with her, because they know by the mitzvot, because they're Hebraic, because you guys so eloquently showed that he's from the tribe of Yehuda. You established his Yehudim lineage already, so you can't even read Matthew without going back and studying this people. Study the people. You couldn't sell ice to Eskimos with that one. Okay? So that's why he's on the run. He's on the run because of that issue, because it's a violation of the mitzvah, and he knows that if they catch up with them, Miriam is a dead woman. Okay? He's got some stuff. And then we got this whole entire liturgy that's in here. Why am I showing y'all that? Because you have to use the mitzvot in order to determine what you're reading. You have to use the mitzvot to determine what you're reading. And that's what was left out. They did us a disservice when they said it's not about a set-apart land, set-apart people. The set-apart word of the Most High, which is the misfolks, all of that got eradicated in order to establish this. Why I'm here, I don't know. You coming up here to help me? Oh, okay. Okay. All right? Hopefully, that answered the question. It's a contextual issue. And putting the timeline and the things together that make this work. Okay? All right. We good? We good. If that wasn't clear, please write in. And if you guys have questions, please ask them. This person decided to ask the question discreetly. Hopefully I honored that particular request in its totality. If you have a question and you don't feel like you need to ask it, you want to ask it publicly, please write it down. Okay? All right. You should never feel from your leaders, and I will stand up all day long and tell you this, that I don't have it all figured out. And you guys have, on several occasions, pointed out where I have actually misquoted and did something wrong. And I've come back and repented for that. I've asked for you for forgiveness, those people that have been influenced by my answer for forgiveness, and we make the correction. I'm not beyond reproach. So if the question hasn't been answered, please write us. Let us know. Okay. Let's get into chapter number 25 of Vayikra or Leviticus. All right? Now, that is why, this is the backdrop on this is why we're doing what we're doing. We're going through these mitzvahs so you get them in your system. We got to know these. Okay? This particular set of mitzvahs that we're going to go over today, which I'm just going to go over 25 today. I'm going to combine 26 and 27. And I'm going to say this. Next week, I don't even want you to, matter of fact, you should always be doing this. But you should always, read ahead is one of them. Make sure you read ahead for 25 and 26. But also, when we come back and deal with this next week, it is literally the Most High telling Hebrew Israel what to do. I want you to look at it from the standpoint that the Most High is speaking to you right now. Okay? Which he is through his text in totality. But when I read 25, 26, 27, all the way to the end, which 27 is the last chapter of Vayikra, that's what it felt like. It was like the Most High was sitting right next to me saying, this is what I want you to do. Okay? Can I have one more side quest before I get into it? I got to do this because I have to give a shout out to my brother for this. He gives me all this stuff because he's a big health nut. Okay? When I went back and I said, okay, my idea about, sin, when sin entered the world, that's kind of a weird question for us. It should be, they had the ability and they violated. We see all the components there. The mitzvot, the atonement, and then what happens after that, right? My brother, as I was talking to him about another issue, he says, do you realize we're still suffering from the same disobedience from day one? The first command that the Most High asked of his creation was to do what? Not to eat something. You can have everything else in here, but don't eat that. What's today? May what? 10th in the year of their Lord, 2025. Are there mitzvot in play right now that says to you, do not eat? You can have this, but do not eat. You are still committing the same thing from day one. We ain't got it right since day one. Y'all wondering why Sutter and Mercy are filled with some folk. Because this temple, this thing you're renting for a little bit, your house is going to go back to the dust. I told you how to take care of it, but you decided you didn't want to. You want to run to everything else. I'm going to give you this last one. You want to run to everything else. Okay? I got to pick on somebody else. And why am I looking at you? You don't talk a lot. You got a nice car, right? You got a nice car. would you take your car down the street to Raul at the local shop to get your car fixed? That car goes where? To the dealership. This is the most magnificent. There is no computer like it. It is an original design. And you mean to tell me I'm going to listen to somebody else tell me how to take care of this other than what the dealer said? The dealer said, put this fuel in it. You get it? You get it. Okay. Vayikra chapter number 25. Let's get into it. All right. Off the showroom floor fresh smell. Right out the hospital. Showroom floor. We immediately start putting mess in it. Okay. I wonder that's why the Most High had you feed from someplace that has okay, all right. I'm getting into something I probably shouldn't get into. Anyway, let's go. 25. Eye asher eye. Again, this is the mitzvot on the Yovel years in the land. Okay? The land is something that's very near and dear to the Most High, and we are to take care of this place. Why am I not getting in this? I'm getting too many of these while I'm up here. Can I walk in your house and put my feet all on your floor, dirty, or up on your furniture? Can I put my take off? Oh, you want me to? Okay, that's cool. You want me to take my shoes off at the door? That's cool, no problem. And put them right on your kitchen table or your sink? No, okay. Think about it this way. You're getting ready to get into the land. This is what I want you to do with my house. Okay? These are rules of my house. When you over here, that's what you do. When you get back home to the nations, you can go ahead and walk through whatever what you want to do. But while you're in here, this is what you're going to do. Think about it that way. All right. Eye spoke to Moshe on Mount Sinai, and he said, tell the people of Israel, when you enter the land I am giving you, the land itself is to observe a Shabbat. Rest for Eye Asher Eye. 6 years you to sow your field. 6 years you are to prune your grapevines and gather their produce. But in the 7th year is to be a Shabbat of complete rest for the land. A Shabbat for Eye Asher Eye. You will neither sow your fields nor prune your grapevines. You are not to harvest what grows by itself from the seeds left by your previous harvest, and you are not to gather grapes to the untended vine. It is to be a year of complete rest for the land. But what the land produces during the year of the Shabbat will be food for all of you. You, your servants, your maid, your employees, anyone living near you, your livestock and wild animals on your land, everything the land produces may be used for food. Yes, sir. It's a huge compost session. The land is regenerating itself. Whatever it produces, you can eat, but you can't work it. Okay? Now, did Hebrew Israel violate this? Yes. Yes. Did they violate this? Let's go to 2 Chronicles chapter number 36, verse 17. This is the precursor to the Babylonian exile. Anybody hear of this term called a month of Sundays? You know what a month of Sundays is? That's a long, y'all have never heard of them. Is that a Midwest thing? That might be a Midwest thing back east. We used to say a month of Sundays. They ain't been here in a month of Sundays. So a month of Sundays would be what? There's 30 days in a typical 30 days in a month, right? So you haven't been here in 30 Sundays. That's a month of Sundays. That's, y'all, they looking over here, that West Coast folks are like, y'all really all country. Y'all, country is all get out. Zedekiah was 21 years old when he began his reign, and he ruled for 11 years in Jerusalem. He did what was evil from the perspective of Yahweh, his El. He did not humble himself before Yirmehu, the prophet, speaking on the behalf of Yahweh. He also rebelled against King Nebuchadnezzar, who had made him swear loyalty to Yahweh. Instead, he became stiff-necked and hard-hearted, refusing to turn to Yahweh, the El of Israel. In addition, the chief Kohanim and the people grew increasingly unfaithful, following all abominable practices of their other nations. That's a trait of us all day long. You just want to be like everybody else. We can't run nothing. We got to have everything validated by somebody else. On the other nations, where it says, and they polluted the house of Yahweh, which he had consecrated in Jerusalem. Time after time, and frequently, Yahweh, the El of their ancestors, sent word to them through their messengers because he had compassion for his people. Well, you started me up far. I want to. Woo, that's okay. We can keep going. Because he had compassion on his people and on the place that he had lived, where they lived, excuse me. But they ridiculed Yah's messengers. Oh, come on. What'd they do? The Most High sent the messengers and they mocked them. Look at these two clowns coming to Yahweh's messengers, treating their words with contempt and scoffing at his prophets, until the anger of Yahweh rose up against the people to the extent that there was no longer any remedy. Therefore, he brought upon them the king of Kasdim to put their young men to the sword in the house of their sanctuary. They had no compassion on either the young men or young women, old men or gray-haired. Yah handed them over to him all the articles of the house of Yah, great and small, the supplies in the house of Yahweh, and the supplies of the kings and the leading men, and all that he brought down to where? Babel, which is Babylon. Okay? Then they burned down the house of Yah, broke down the wall in Jerusalem, and put flames all in its palaces, and destroyed everything in it of worth. Those who had escaped the sword carried off to Babel, and they became slaves to him and his sons until the reign of the king of Persia. Wow. Thus was fulfilled the word of Yahweh spoken by Yirmehu, until the land has been paid her Shabbats. For as long as it was laid desolate, it kept Shabbat until 70 years had passed. Part of the reason why y'all are in exile, y'all didn't keep this mitzvot to let the land rest. So it's going to be repaid back for all that time that you guys messed it up. Okay? Which was about 70 years. Okay? In this particular one. So we have dispensations of time for these particular exiles. Okay? I just wanted to bring that to your attention and say, yes, there is a scripture or there's some text that talks about how they broke this particular mitzvot. Let's keep moving. Let's go back to Vayikra chapter number 25, verse 8. Okay. And we're going to get moving. I ain't going to keep you. I always start out with this joke. Liz Taylor said to her eighth husband, I'm not going to keep you long. Okay. And that's what I intend on doing here. I'm not going to keep y'all too much longer. You're only going to be here for a little bit. You are to count 7 Shabbats of years, 7 times 7 years, that is 49 years. Then on the 10th day, oh, wait a minute, here, listen to this. Your Yovel years are connected to a particular Moedim. It says what? 7 times 7 years, that is 49 years. Then on the 10th day of the 7th month, which is what? It's right next to it. It says Yom Kippur. You are to sound the blast on the shofar. You are to sound the shofar all through your land. And you are to consecrate the 50th year, proclaiming freedom throughout the land and to all its inhabitants. Okay? It's going to talk about how those who have been slaves and land being returned to its original owner. We're going to get into that as we read on. It will be remember this word, a yovel for you. Okay? You will return everyone to the land he owns, and everyone is to return to his family. That 50th year will be a yovel for you. In that year you are not to sow harvest that grows by itself or gather the grapes of untended vines, because it is a yovel. It will be set apart for you. Whatever the fields produce will be food for you. In this year of yovel, every one of you is to return to the land he owns. Every tribe had a section of land. Somebody correct me. Every tribe had a section of land. There you go. We always got to remember Levi. Levi didn't get a set apart piece of land. All of the other tribes had to contribute pieces of parcels of land for them. And there are 6 specific ones. They're called the cities of refuge, where one could go if some egregious act happened, and you had to stay there. Oh, I'm just rattling mitzvos off. You had to stay there for a certain amount of time until who dies? The Kohanim Hagadol dies, right? You stay in the, matter of fact, you step your big toe out of that city of refuge, and you could get clipped by who? There's a specific person that has to clip you. Who is that? Your kinsman redeemer. All that plays into play. Let me see you outside that wall. Vigilante justice is in play, partner. And if however egregious it was, I probably would have had myself at that wall every single day. I had me a scope, right? Soon as your big nose crossed that line, hey, I was in my rights. Look at his nose. It's right there. I shut it off. 14. It says, if you sell anything to your neighbor or buy anything for him, neither of you is to exploit the other. Rather, you are to take into account the numbers of years after the yovel. Let's stop for a second. Let's put this in a proper context. Is this in play right now for y'all? No. Why? You are not in the land. Your yovel years start when you get into the land. So we're reading this just to be aware. Yes, sir. I'm saying this. To do this in its totality, you got to be in the land, but there's nothing stopping you from practicing it in exile. Okay? There's some things that we can do, but if you're going to be to the letter of the strict commandment of the Most High, it's in the land. But that's not stopping me from practicing, because I can say, okay, I enacted one of these mitzvot myself. I have a house. I have a fruit tree. I planted that tree. When can I eat from that tree? In the 5th year, I can eat from it. I have to let it germinate. 4 years prior. A horticulturalist will tell you that. Without even reading text, they'll tell you, you got to let that tree breathe a couple of years before you can eat from it. And I'm telling you, this year is the 5th year. If you come by my front house, my peach tree is just teeming with fruit. Okay? Don't come on my property. Let me know that you're showing up. I don't want my wife looking out the window like, why is this Negroes just picking? Did I say peaches? They pears. It's a pear tree. Yes, ma'am. Absolutely. 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 Would you want your star player to show up at the at the NBA game and he never went to practice? No, you got to get in here with us, bruh. You need to run these plays. We got to learn chemistry. We got to learn how things work. So when we do matriculate back into the land, that's all the better that we're going to have. A lot of the stuff that we're butting heads about in exile is going to get resolved. And we won't have these issues. But that's my answer, is to say, okay, specifically in the land. But you can still practice it. Okay? I love that for you Hebrews. You guys got a heart just to do what the Most High asks, even if it's not, totally in play. That's how much you love the Most High, because you want to do them. Ain't nobody turning you away from them, telling you that they're bad. I long for them. I think about them. I meditate on them every day. What does it say? When my steps are ordered. That's ordered by what? Righteousness, which is what? Torah. When I sit down and I eat my food. Torah. When I interact with a person. Torah. When I go ahead and lend you something. Do I lend to my brother at interest? No. But the nations I can. All right? My steps are ordered, but if I don't know what they are, then I will let anybody tell me. What did they say? If you don't stand for anything, you'll fall. What is it? What does it say? If you don't stand for something, you'll fall for anything. Okay. Everything. 14. Oh, let's just go back up and get it. I need to get a good. I need to run at it again. If you sell anything to your neighbor or buy anything from him, neither of you, is to exploit the other. Rather, you are taken to count the number of years after the Yovel when you buy the land from your neighbor, and he is to sell to you according to the year's crops will be raised. If the number of years remaining is large, you will raise the price. So, he sells it to me. There's a lot of years there, okay? And it's based on how much the land is producing, how much fruit you get. But if the years are shorter, based on the land is producing, that's how you're to lend, okay? I think that's how that's reading. It says, if a few years remain, you will lower it, because what he is really selling you is the number of crops to be produced. Thus, you are not to take advantage of each other, but you are to fear your El, for I am Eye Asher Eye. Okay? I'm going to leave that alone. I'm going to let the scholars talk about that. And I know my folks that like to plant are going to be talking about that one afterwards. 18. Rather, you are to keep my what? Regulations and rulings and act accordingly. If you do, you will live securely in the land. The land will yield its produce, and you will eat until you have had enough. And you will live there securely. If you ask, if we aren't allowed to sow seed or harvest what our land produces, what are we going to eat in the 7th year? Is there a precedent that's already set that should set this up? In our desert experience, the Most High said, y'all take y'all Negro behinds out there and y'all gather all that stuff, that manna out there for how many days? 6 days. And on the 6th day, you're going to get what? Double. Okay? I would like to think moving forward, we're going to see something a little like this, where the Most High is going to make provision in that 7th year. So he asks the question, if we aren't allowed to sow seed or harvest what our land produces, what are we going to eat in the 7th year? Then I will order my blessing on you during the 6th year, so that the lands bring forth enough produce for all 3 years. The 8th year you will sow seed, but eat the old. Stored produce until the 9th year. That is, until it produces, the produce of the 8th year comes in. You will eat the old stored food. So in the 6th year, you're going to get enough to not only take care of 6, 7, and then when 8 comes around, when you have to resow to get the produce in the 9th year, he's going to cover you for 3 years straight. Okay? That's how the land is going to produce. Now, y'all gonna have to, I'm gonna ask this question for the chat. That's what the young people say nowadays. I got a question for the chat. Is that what y'all say? Where do we actually, has this actually been happening now? Is there any parcel of land that, or how crops are produced from farming, where actually after so many years they produce 3 times as much? So this has to be systemic to obedience to the Most High as it relates to the land. Okay?
Question.
Yes, sir.
Issue.
Yes, sir.
The reason why our food is contaminated and destroyed, and the reason why a lot of our food is not even allowed, other countries won't even accept it, is because of the pesticides and because of the various things that they're injecting into the land to produce, because the land is not resting and not being able to revitalize itself, and it's not honoring the Sabbath.
Yeah. 100%.
So getting back to something that you said earlier, question was, are we supposed to do this in exile? It's very profitable for you to do it in exile, because the food that you're going to eat is going to be more nourishing to you and be more. So I think that's where they get this idea of organic food.
Right. No, that's a great point. Excellent point, Morey. Yes, sir.
To this point, to be more specific on my question, so I don't know how long the land that I like. I work in different gardens. So do I just start at, okay, I started gardening in this year, and then on the 6th year I rest, or is it more, you do it for the land?
So it's systemic. If I'm understanding your question, it's systemic to the land, not your particular rest.
Okay.
So the land, if you're working that ground, depending on how long they've been working that ground, they would have to be still doing some research in that. But at this particular point, probably starting now, saying this is day 1 would probably be good to say, okay, moving forward, this is the first year. Come the 6th year, we're gonna let the land come back and just practice that, instead of trying to figure out, well, this parcel of land had 3 on it and this one had 4. That might be a little bit more difficult. But again, practice. This is practice. We're talking about practice. Practice. We can make the application and get ready as we matriculate back. Okay, we good? All right, let's keep moving. I got to get through this. I'm not doing my Liz Taylor thing. Where are we at? 23? 23, okay. It says the land is not to be sold in perpetuity, because the land belongs to whom? Me. You are borrowing it. That's why I can kick you out of it. You are only foreigners and temporary residents with me. Therefore, when you sell, becomes poor. What does that say? Did I read that right? Sell your property and become poor, and sell some of his property. His next of kin can come and buy back what his relative sold. 26. If there is a seller, if the seller has no one to redeem it and becomes rich enough to redeem it himself, he will calculate the number of years the land was sold for. Come on. I should have you come up here and teach this. You all into real estate. Here's your misfolks on real estate. Okay? We got a resident real estate officer in the building. It says if the seller has no one to redeem it, I'm back at the 26, but it becomes rich enough to redeem it himself, he will calculate the number of years the land was sold for, refund the excess to the buyer, and return to his property. If he hasn't sufficient means to get it back himself, then what he sold will remain in the hands of the buyer until the what year? The Yovel year. Everything resets at that 7th year. In the Yovel, the buyer will vacate it and the seller return to his property. Makes kind of sense. These properties have to stay. I've given you this parcel of land. I've given that tribe this parcel of land. I come in as Yehuda and I buy all of Naphtali's stuff, then Naphtali don't have nothing. Okay? they ultimately could get pushed out or eradicate. All their land could get eradicated. The Most High set up a system to where the land returns back to the way he initially set it up. No matter how long you guys get in there and screw it up and do whatever you want to do and sell whatever, that's fine. We're going to have a reset every 7 years on the Shabbat year, which is the Yovel, okay? Whew. 29, right? Okay. If someone sells a dwelling in a walled city, he has 1 year after the date of sale in which to redeem it. For a full year, he will have the right of redemption. But if he has not redeemed the dwelling in the walled city within a year, then title in perpetuity passes to the buyer through all the generations. It will not revert in the Yovel. I bet y'all never read this from a real estate point. Most High is, wow. However, houses in villages not surrounded by walls are to be dealt with like the fields in the countryside. They may be redeemed before the Yovel, and they revert in the Yovel. Concerning the cities of the Leviim and the houses in the cities they possess, the Leviim are to have a permanent right of redemption because they have what? No inheritance. So they're going to keep all of their stuff. If someone purchases a house from one of the Leviim, then the house he sold, so there's none of these restrictions on the Yovel year, they'll ultimately get it back. I think that's what we're getting ready to read here in a second. If someone purchases a house from one of the Leviim, then the house he sold in the city where he owns the property will still revert to him in the Yovel year, because the houses in the cities of the Leviim are the tribe's possession among the people of Israel. The fields in the open land around their cities may not be sold, because that is their permanent possession. Because when you do these cities for the Leviim, they have a patch. It actually gives you a dimension of land that they have to be assigned to these specific cities that they actually have, or circling around it, okay? If you go to Bad Midbar, I don't want you to go there, but if you go to Bad Midbar, chapter number 35, which is what? Bad Midbar is what? Numbers, chapter number 35. It will tell you about the cities of refuge, starting at verse 6. We're not going to go there, but just know that that's there. All right. We're going to get into a section now all the way to the end as we go. We got another 20 or so verses to get through here. These are the mitzvot on the poor. Okay? If a member of your people has become poor so that he can't support himself among you, you are to assist him as you would a foreigner or a temporary resident, so that he can continue living with you. Do not charge him interest or otherwise profit from him, but fear your el, so your brother can continue living with you. Do not take interest when you loan him money, or take a profit when you sell him food. I am Eye Asher Eye, signed. I am Eye Asher Eye, who brought you out of where? The land of Mitzrayim, in order to give you the land of Canaan and be your El. 39, if a member of the people has become poor among you and sells himself to you, do not make, now don't think again, this is servitude. This is not pre-Jim Crow slavery, okay? I think when we think about slaves, we think about our closest ancestors and how they were treated, okay? That's what we think about, okay? We got to think about what a servant and what a tenant and what a slave actually is, okay? All different kinds of categories that are in there. I'm not going to go into it right now, but because I need to get through this, but know that there are different categories. Where did I leave off? Let's go. 37. Do not take interest when you loan him money, or take profit when you sell him food. I am Eye Asher Eye, who brought you out of the land of Mitzrayim in order to give you a land of Canaan and be your El. 39. If a member of your people has become poor among you and sells himself to you, do not make him do the work of a slave. Rather, you are to treat him like an employee. That's somebody that gets paid a rate, or a tenant. He will work for you until the year of Yovel. Okay? Then he will leave you and his children with him, and return to his own family and regain possession of his ancestral land. I've become poor. I can't pay for X, X, and X. I'm going to sell myself into servitude. I'm going to work for this particular person until the Yovel year comes, okay? And then I get released, and I'm able to go back to my land. So all that, what does that establish? Most High does this. Come on, think about it for a second. I'm boring y'all to death now. I know I am. Why are we doing it that way? I'm poor. I don't have enough money. Okay, let me help you get some money. Why don't you sell yourself into servitude? You're going to get paid like an employee. So what are you doing? You're stacking chips because your employer's taking care of you. You're living with somebody else. You don't have to worry about property. You're stacking your chips. So by the time, if you get into it early enough, like in the Yovel, before the Yovel year, you got 6 some odd years to stack all these chips. And at the Yovel year, you take your butt back to your land and take your house back. All right? We don't have this loan thing going on. We don't have this extra stuff that's going on like they do here in the United States. The Most High has a way built into the mitzvos to get you back on track. This is called money management for the poor. Okay? What did I say? 42. Let's go to 42. It says, for they are my slaves, whom I brought out of the land of Mitzrayim. Therefore, they are not to be sold as slaves. Do not treat him harshly, but fear whom? Yahweh. Concerning the men and women you have as slaves, you are not to buy men and women slaves from the nations surrounding you. Okay? You are not to buy the children of foreigners living with you and members of their families born in your land. You may own these. You may also bequeath them to your children to own. From these groups, you may take your slaves forever. But as far as your brothers, your people of Israel, are concerned, you are not to treat each other harshly. If a foreigner living with you has grown rich, and a member of your people has become poor and sells himself to a foreigner living with you, or to a member of a foreigner's family, he may be redeemed after he's been sold. One of his brothers may redeem him. His uncle or his uncle's son may redeem him, or any near relative of his may redeem him. Or if he becomes rich, he may redeem himself. He will calculate with the person who bought him the time of the year he was sold himself to the year of Yovel. The amount to be paid will be according to the number of years and his time at an employee's wage. If many years remain, according to them, he will refund the amount for his redemption and the amount he was brought for. Now, okay, somebody should have asked me this earlier. You said we set this precedent, with the Yovels and planting. I want to make probably a distinction here, and I probably need my moray to help me out. Is this a mitzvah that we can do in exile? We're talking about owning slaves, and we're talking about servants and employees and all that stuff. Is this something that we can do in exile? Somebody told you, said, you guys do all the mitzvahs, what are you doing with this? Are you just simply writing it off, saying, okay, we're not in the land, but this one, you just said, made a precedent ago that says, okay, you're not in the land for the Yovel years to let the land rest, but you still can practice it. Does that same precedent apply here? You're saying yes. Okay. What say you?
You can have servants. You don't have slaves. You can have servants, and if you have servants, then you have to pay them for the work that they're doing. I want to go back to it's staying in the same place where you are.
Okay.
But back in Exodus, chapter 21.
Okay.
And
Exodus 21.
I'm going to start reading in verse number 2.
Okay.
If you purchase a Hebrew slave and he and he is to work 6 years, but in the 7th he is to be given his freedom without having to pay anything. If he came single, he is to leave single. If he was married when he came, his wife is to go with him when he leaves. That goes back to what you're saying in the Yovel year. But if his master gave him a wife and she bore him sons and daughters, then the wife and her children will belong to her master, and he will leave by himself. Verse 5, nevertheless, if the slave declares, I love my master, my wife, and my children, so I don't want to go free, then his master is to bring him before Yahweh, and there at the door or the doorpost, his master is to pierce his ear with an awl, and the man will be his slave for life. So that goes back with what you're saying,
Right.
in terms of the freedom. But if the slave doesn't want to return, then this is a procedure. This is the mitzvah that has to be followed.
That's right. And then we establish here in these particular texts when that actually happens in a particular time. You're to be a slave for X amount of time, and then you get, or a servant or employee or a tenant is only for a certain amount of time. Now, again, you're housing this particular person. You're taking care of all their needs while they're there with you. This is not just, oh, okay, you're my servant for the day and you go home to your own house. You have a servant that's there with you, okay? You're taking care of them.
Yeah, I bring this up because Exodus chapter 21 deals with the issues of the Yovel year and the mitzvahs that concern it. Excellent.
Ooh, there's going to be some discussion about this. I see you guys' brains just, or you're like, come on. You only got a couple more verses. Let's go to 50. He will calculate the person who bought him from the time of the year which sold himself to him to the year of the Yovel, and the amount to be paid will be according to the number of years and his time at the employee's wage. If many years remain, according to them, he will refund the amount for his redemption from the amount he was bought for. If there remain only a few years until the year of the Yovel, then he will calculate with him according to the years will he refund the amount for his redemption. 53. He will be like a worker hired year by year. You will see it that he is not to be treated harshly. Last two verses, 54 and 55. If he has not been redeemed by any of these procedures, nevertheless, he will go free in the year of the Yovel. We just sum it all up. None of this got done. You got to let him go in the Yovel year. He and his children. For to me, the people of Israel are slaves. They are my slaves, from whom I brought out of the land of Mitzrayim. Signed, Eye Asher Eye. That concludes chapter number 25. There is a lot of, you could do a workshop on real estate and Yovel years and what happens, this and that, just on chapter number 25 alone. There's a lot of detail that's in here, okay? Now, when I come back next week, we're going to go over 26 and 27. 26 and 27. You know what? Let me give you a little precursor. I'm just going to read a couple verses out of it. I want to put you in the frame of mind. The Most High is talking to you. He says, you. Who is you? Hebrew Israel. You are not to make yourselves any idols. Erect a carved statue or standing stone, or place any carved stone anywhere in your land in order to bow down to it. Signed, Eye Asher Eye. Oh, this is getting good to me. Who are you? You, Hebrew Israel. Keep my Shabbats. If you ain't Hebrew Israel, I guess it don't matter. Guess you can go and worship on Sunday. And revere my sanctuary. I am Eye Asher Eye. I got to give you 3. I got to give you 3 through 5. If, free will statement, if you live by my regulations and observe my mitzvot and obey them, then I will provide the rain you need in the season, and the land will yield its produce. And the trees in the field will yield their fruit. Your threshing time will extend until the grape harvest, and your grape harvesting will extend until the time for your sowing seed. You will eat as much food as you want and live securely in your land. He's talking directly to us. He's giving us these last bit of instructions as we get into these books about the wilderness and Numbers. Hopefully you got something today. I didn't bore you to tears up here. Follow the ways of the midst of the Most High. I was talking to my wife about this. I said, when you guys are reading, you need to engage all 8 of your senses. 8. 8. Oh, come on, let's go to them. How many senses? 8. 8. Which 3 of them could be the same thing. You could look at them as the same thing. What? Taste, smell, sight, touch, hearing. These are our physical senses that have us interact with the world. But you got 3 more that you're not thinking about. You have your sense of cognition. You have your sense of what? Discernment. You have your sense of what? Intuition. You heard about a woman's intuition? I just feel like it's a sense that you have. And you use the other 5 to confirm what you're sensing. You need to have all of them engaged when you're reading text. My spirit of discernment says, or my sense of discernment says, something else is here. And I need to use my ability to hear and see to confirm. You go into, how many of y'all have walked into a room and something ain't right in here? Something ain't right in here. There's some tension going on in here. There's something in here. I don't know what it is. How many of you have had that? And then what do you do next? You use the rest of your senses to confirm what you're feeling. By what? Hearing, seeing. I went up to her and I touched her and she was dead cold. Something was off about her. You do the other senses to confirm what's inside. So when you read this, you need to have all 8 engaged. Okay? All right. Hopefully you got something. Let me bless you as you stand to your feet. In Bad Midbar, which is Numbers, chapter number 6, verses 24 through 26, it says in the Hebrew tongue, Yivarekaka Yahweh ve'yishmareka, Yair Yahweh panave leka v'huneka, Yesa Yahweh panave v'yasam laka shalom, which simply means, may Yahweh bless you and may Yahweh keep you. May Yahweh lift his face to shine on you and show you this is what you want. This is what you want. You want favor. Favor is come on. I see you right there, Judy. Come on up to the front of the line. Now, I didn't mean you to do it right now. I see you back there, Liv. Come on up to the front of the line. I see you over there. I'm going to put your application to the front of the pile. That Yahweh have favor for you. May Yahweh lift his face towards all of you and give you shalom. West Coast Hebrews, till next time. Shalom.